Unity of Houston is an inclusive church where we seek to understand and live the teachings of Jesus and other spiritual masters. At Unity, we welcome all people from all spiritual paths and every walk of life. We celebrate the diversity of our city and of our world, and we teach love, tolerance, and oneness, seeking to live in harmony with open minds and open hearts.
Wherever you are in your spiritual path, you are always welcome at Unity. Join us and discover that the life of your dreams is already within you.
Thank you, Todd. See, there's musical genius right there. You can write a song about love with your wife and a song about your spiritual progress and development from the head to the heart. I love that. Love it. Thank you. Welcome, beautiful Unity family. Thank you for being here tonight. Thank you for being here for the second part of our series on This Life is Yours. We were so blessed to have Reverend Linda Martellowitz, one of the authors of this book, with us for SEE Week back in February. And she spoke on Wednesday night, and she told me that she had been a yogi, and so she totally got the vibe of what we were doing here on Wednesday nights as we share unity principles and also bring in Eastern practices and philosophy and spirituality in with it, because really it's all one. It's all one truth with different voices and different perspectives leading to the same truth. So I want to begin by sharing with you a quote from Dr. David Hawkins from his book, Discovery of the Presence of God, Devotional Non-Duality. He said, "Serious inner spiritual work may sound tedious and demanding to the ego, but it's exciting to the spirit, which is eager to return home. Consciousness innately seeks its source." So I imagine it's that part of you that is excited, that spirit of you that is eager to return home, to know your source, that is bringing you here for this experience and I invite you to open up to that truth of your being as we look at these foundational unity teachings that Linda and Alicia brought to us in this part of the book, This Life is Yours. How often do you think I would feel more of God, more spirit, more of my beingness if I didn't have this issue in my life, fill in the blank, whatever that is, whatever that issue is that feels like a barrier, like a block, like I've got to work through that. There's a Zen proverb that says, "The obstacle is the path." We think the obstacle is in the way of the path, and so we got to figure out how to get around that thing in order to move forward spiritually. And the truth is that your current experience, whatever that thing, that boulder, or even that troublesome idea, relationship, situation, whatever it is for you, is the opportunity to know more of God, to experience an opening into a greater awareness of yourself, to use the power of God within you to experience wholeness, abundance, harmony, and understanding in your life. And the Gospels, and the Gospel of Mark, chapter 5, is the story of the woman who was healed. And it's a story that points to how the power within her brought forward her healing. And she had been hemorrhaging for 12 years. She had been to many physicians, could not be healed, and she spent all of her money trying to get healed, and it actually only got worse. And she believed, because she'd heard about Jesus, she heard that he was a healer, that he had great spiritual power, that if she were just able to touch his cloak, just to touch it, that would be enough healing energy to heal her body of this dis-ease. And when she did, she was able to get through the crowd, get past the disciples, and just touch the hem of his garment. That scripture says her bleeding immediately stopped, and she was healed. And Jesus felt this happening. He said he felt his power had gone forth to her, and he asked, "Who touched me?" And she fell to the ground. Scripture says she fell to the ground. She confessed her whole story. And Jesus didn't say, "Well, even though I didn't see you, I healed you, and so I took care of that thing you're worried about." He said, "Daughter, your faith has made you well. Go in peace and be healed of your disease." Your faith has made you well, because she already believed that touching his garment would be what would heal her. And he's letting her know that that is how she experienced. She put so much of her faith into that was how she experienced the healing, and not that it was really any act on his part. So this is important to keep in mind as we're knowing the power within us. So in chapter 3 of This Life is Yours, it says, the bad news and the good news is that you are powerful. Actually, it's all good news. You are powerful by virtue of your mind. No matter what you have thought about your mind, it is the seat of your power. And this is a foundational truth of unity. Your mind is the seat of your power, because we know that we have choice at the level of our consciousness. We can change the content of our thinking. Now, thoughts flow in and flow out, right? And sometimes they're not thoughts we would want to cling on to. And so what unity teachings are telling us is that your thoughts are things, that they have energy, they have vibration, they take up space in consciousness, even though they're invisible, they're felt, right? If you come into a room and someone is steaming angry, they don't have to say a word, you can just feel it, right? You can also feel great joy, right? You see a little bubbly, adorable baby, you just pick right up on that, right? Feel the energy of that. Jesus said to the woman, your faith has made you well. He was speaking about her consciousness. Her thoughts were in alignment with truth. So metaphysically, we can interpret this story as reflective of our own experience when we have a human experience that's an obstacle, whatever that may be, and that rather than reaching out for human help, which is our tendency. This woman tried everything. She spent all her money, went to all the doctors, all the best doctors probably that she could find. When we reach for truth, when we open to God consciousness, that is when we're opening to the Christ within us, that energy of the Christ that's present in all of us, as all of us. And so unity teaches that we don't do this as a last resort. That's what the woman did. It was the last idea that she had, and that's typically what we do, right? We try everything, and then we go to God when we can't figure anything else out on the human level. I know I've been guilty of doing that as well, that there is a greater possibility for healing, and it's always available to us. So now that we know this, we can remember to do it sooner, right? Do it sooner before we exhaust all possibilities. We turn to God. And it's not either or. It's not like either human help or spiritual help. They both work together. We want to make sure we have that balance of the human and the spiritual always. The problem is not that we have thoughts or feelings. We can think, oh, well, if I could just not have these thoughts or feelings, then maybe I can just be more my spiritual, divine whole self. So the thoughts and feelings are fleeting, right? They're always changing. They're always changeable. They're relative. They come and go, like the weather. The Buddhist teacher Thich Nhat Hanh taught that thoughts and feelings come and go like clouds in a windy sky. So not even slow. Windy sky, they're moving along, right? They're just moving along. So when have you been told or told yourself, when you've told yourself long enough that you're a sick person, you're a weak person, you're an incapable person, when you hold those kind of negative beliefs long enough, so the negative thoughts become beliefs, is what I'm saying. So a thought held long enough in time, consistently, becomes a belief. And the belief is what has a definite effect on us and those around us. And we can see that by the power of people's beliefs to cause them to take action to harm others, believing that the belief that they hold is more important than the life of another person, even whatever that belief is telling them. So beliefs can be very powerful. They can have very powerful positive effects or negative effects depending on what the belief is. Is it in alignment with truth, or is it in alignment with negativity or what have you on that side? So they broadcast energy, whether they contribute to fear or faith. And think about how quickly, when we went into shutdown in 2020, in the pandemic, how quickly people went into panic and went into the grocery stores and any store, get paper towels, toilet paper, water, canned food, everything. There was just such a immediate panic. So that's where a belief just went rampant, that there was fear and people wanting to prepare, and people who overstocked and their garages were filled because they went into fear, right? And then there wasn't enough for other people. So noticing that beliefs can run rampant and can cause us to do things in the extreme and excess. There's wonderful wisdom in Proverbs 4:23 that says, "More than anything you guard, protect your mind, for life flows from it." So you are the gatekeeper of your mind. If you are spending time watching the news and you're wondering, like, why do I feel so stressed and down about life? Well, what are you feeding your consciousness? If you can watch the news and see it as a prayer request rather than something that is meant to engender fear, if you can put out positive energy when you watch it, perfect. If it's very stressful, the music, the energy that they're putting out is stressing you out, there are ways for us to find out news without engaging in the whole atmosphere of drama around it, right? Just knowing that you are the gatekeeper of your thoughts. So be mindful of it. Scripture tells us this, because life flows from your mind. We create at the level of mind into manifestation. So you're encouraged to question your thoughts, that just because a thought shows up doesn't mean it is your thought. You don't have to take it on as your belief and say, I saw that person and I thought that person is a jerk. Where did that come from? I don't think that. That wasn't very nice. Doesn't mean that because it popped up in your mind that it's true. It could be most likely based on something from your past that was triggered. And whatever that was, how important is it for you to fish back there and figure that out? It's important for you to use your divine faculties to know the truth and to live in love, right? And understanding. So our thoughts that we have are so impactful too, because we're all connected, right? We're all one. Have any of you seen the movie What the Bleep Do We Know? You seen that? Yeah, it came out a while ago, and there is a great study that was shown in that movie of 4,000 meditators who meditated in the nation's capital from June 7th to July 30th in 1993. And during that time, violent crimes in that area reduced as much as 23.6%. And they were monitoring this. They had prepared for this event and were monitoring this crime rate based on the people meditating. So we can powerfully use our thoughts and our energy to be a healing presence in the world. This is documented, this is known, and we have the calling to do that as being on a spiritual path, to use our energy in that way, to be a light in the world. Now, it may seem like a trivial response to a situation when we say, I hold you in my thoughts and prayers. That's something that I notice that people saying online, like, oh, they just said they're going to pray for you. They're not really doing anything. But we know in unity that thoughts and prayers do make a difference. They do make a difference. And so we can pray and hold positive thoughts and then take action. So it's not either or. It's not like, oh, well, you just pray and we don't have to do anything. We pray and you move your feet, as they say. That we take positive action because it's based and anchored in prayer and in faith and not in fear. We want to take our action in faith, right? So one of the keys of discovering that amazing power within you that each of you are, and I am, is appreciating the difference between I feel and I am. I feel and I am. There's a difference there that is pointed out in this book. Khalil Gibran, a wonderful author, wrote, many of us spend our whole lives running from feeling with the mistaken belief that you cannot bear the pain. But you have already borne the pain. You've already borne the pain. What you have not done is feel all you are beyond that pain. Beyond the pain. All you are beyond the pain. So the true you exists beyond the experiences of your life. We can feel a great disconnect when we only live in the human. And we feel like that's all that there is. We are fully human and fully divine. So there's that balance. When we open our awareness to the one mind, we open to our full potential, which is wholeness and abundance and harmony and peace and joy and love, equanimity and fulfillment. So this is healing, attuning your thinking to the one mind, to elevate your human thought to the ideal. So that is not that you are denying that the human experience exists, whatever it is. It's you practicing what Myrtle Fillmore, a Unity co-founder, demonstrated when she healed from a terminal disease. She had tried whatever healing modalities were available to her at that time in the 1880s. And she was told that she had several months to live, and she had children, and she didn't want to die. She wanted to live, to care for her children, to have a full life. She was still young. And so she decided that she would not use medication. She would not use any medical intervention because she wanted to be able to know how to do this, to teach other people to do it. And it's not that in Unity we're saying don't use medical intervention. It's that she wanted to know how to do this spiritually so that she can give that gift to you in support. And you see, Unity has been going since then until now, 130, whatever years. Figure out the years. But this is such a powerful truth, and she didn't come up with it. Jesus demonstrated it, right? And she practiced it and blessed every cell of her body with strength and wholeness. And what's interesting to notice here is it didn't cost her anything and nobody else was involved. She did this on her own. And so knowing that we don't need to rely on another person to do our spiritual work for us or in tandem with us, we can do this on our own. Unity empowers us to do our spiritual work and to know that we have that power within us, that we don't need to rely. We can have other people remind us of the truth, but we do that work on our own, you and God. And so she had held a belief that her illness was inherited because she had tuberculosis. Her dad died of tuberculosis, so that was a very big belief. So we're talking about the difference between thoughts and beliefs, right? So this was a huge belief that she held. So it was working through that to release that, which was deeply ingrained in her since she was very small. She used this affirmation, I'm a child of God, therefore I do not inherit sickness. And this is the degree of power that we have within us, that we can, at the level of thinking, bringing our thoughts and feelings together, we can experience healing as we know the truth. Now, for her, it took 2 years to heal her body this way. And remember, she tried everything, so she wasn't thinking, well, I'll try some other thing. She was totally, her faith was in this spiritual practice, right? So this is just to inspire us in what is possible. The power to return to wholeness with the positive use of the power of our mind. This is the foundation of our unity teachings. We have this amazing ability to pivot in our consciousness between the human and the spiritual, the human and the spiritual. It's a great gift that we have. It's our ability to know the truth and see the human experience. Is anybody familiar with the golden key? It used to be a little pamphlet that was at Unity. Yes, the golden key. I have some in my office if you want one. You can find it online pretty easily, truthunity.net. I'm sure it's there. And Emmett Fox was a popular 20th century spiritual teacher, and he taught this practice of the golden key, that whenever you catch yourself focusing on the disease or the problem, that your mind is there, to take your attention away from it and to focus instead on your wholeness, on the godness that you are, and to keep bringing your attention to that truth. And you can learn to live this way. Right, Reverend Sheila? You can learn to live this way, right, Stacy? Oh, yes. Seeing the outer while knowing the spiritual truth. So I invite you to expand your possibilities for yourself, for your life, to know that you have the inner resources to experience the fullness of your spiritual nature. And so turn to God, open up to your inner resources, and discover your power to heal and expand your life to know it in its fullness and wholeness. Namaste. Hey, Stacy, come on up here.
Thank you. Look at this. Minister, good service. Thank you, Rev. Jeanmarie. That was beautiful. I was reminded, I love the subject of the power of our beliefs. And I was reminded of, in Lessons in Truth, the first chapter of that, Emily Cady talks about liberty or bondage, which? And I think that that's what our beliefs do. They either have the power, like you said, we have the power, that we've given the beliefs the power to either free us into a greater expression or to keep us in bondage in some way. And then sometimes, like you were speaking of Myrtle, some of these beliefs, we don't even know that we have, that we're not conscious of them because they're from our family of origin or maybe a collective consciousness. You know, I remember a few years ago, I discovered a belief that some of you may share, or some of you may have had in your life. My family, it was, work has to be hard. And you must work hard, and the harder you work, the better work you're doing, right? And so when I started questioning that belief, I can have fun. It can be ease. There can be grace in this. There can be joy and lightness. I don't have to struggle. You know, that's not inherent in the idea of work. Wow. What a freedom I experienced once I realized that.
Yes, bring more lightness and fun and joy into it. It doesn't have to be so serious all the time. I think that we can do that. I know I could tend to do that idea, hunker down and power through and get it all done. And then it feels like so heavy, right, to approach things that way. You probably get a lot more done. I think I get a lot more done when I bring a lighter touch to it. She talks in the book about how what you were saying about the beliefs that we carry from childhood, and she talked about her beliefs around prosperity. I'm talking about Linda Martelowitz, and that one of them was money doesn't grow on trees. You hear that? Money does not grow on trees. So there's that idea that if you're going to get money, you have to work hard for it, right? Just like you were saying, that there's that struggle, and how she transformed that thinking. There are people who work like 4 hours a week, and that's their whole work week. So it's possible, right? It's possible to do that.
It's possible. And even that, I like that money doesn't grow on trees example, because it not only says, okay, you have to work for it, but then it's a limited supply. And perhaps if I get my money, there's not enough for somebody else. And all these other kind of lack thoughts that kind of go along with that if we keep following it. So like little weeds that kind of crop up in different ways. But I love the idea too that you talked about, because I think this is inherent in it too, the idea that obstacles are the way through. So when we do encounter these, oh, wait a minute, I'm feeling some constriction here, or I'm feeling some resistance here, to not shove it away, to say, what is in here? Let me just peek around in here. What belief am I holding about this? What thoughts have I been holding about this? And then we can kind of dissolve it from there, but it's not the obstacle that's the problem. I love that idea. It's really just trying to show us something. That's our way through to a greater truth, I guess I would say.
Yeah. That working with that belief system that is behind it, that's causing the resistance, that's the fun work that we get to do on our spiritual path. What is that about? Radical forgiveness is important in all of that. We put a lot of grace. That's something that I work with a lot now. With one, when I did put a totally different context around what I'm doing in my life, like, wow, I'm amazingly able to do all the things I do, rather than do, I'm doing so much. Well, I'm choosing to do what I'm doing. So rather than seeing it as so much, which is like a kind of mind frame that's stressful, of course, I can eliminate what I don't want to do. That's something that I can work on, and to really claim and own what I'm doing, that I'm really just amazingly able to do all those things, rather than to feed into my kind of inability, thinking like, well, if I do a lot, then that means I can't do all that, or whatever kind of crazy thinking around that. Like, well, no, just amazingly able person who's able to do these things. Like, that's really a cool thing, right?
You have that huge capacity. I think too, that's when you were talking about the difference of really being able to tell the difference between the I feel this way and I am what, because those feelings of feeling overwhelmed, or feeling like it's all too much, or feeling anxious, or whatever, those are here to kind of pass their information, but they don't tell the truth of who we are, right? They just give us information about what's happening in our relationship to it. And sometimes we can take that on as our identity, like, oh, I'm a person that feels it's overwhelmed, or I am an anxious person. So then I start to limit myself and not get myself in this situation, or be afraid to take on new things because I think of myself as limited in some way.
Yes. That limited thinking is really limiting.
Yes. There, put that on a bumper sticker.
Yes, that's my words of wisdom. Thank you for your wisdom, Stacy.
Thank you for watching this message today. I'd like to invite you to join us in person here on campus at Unity of Houston for Sunday morning or Wednesday evening services. If you can't be with us here on our campus, you can still join us live on Facebook or on our website, unityhouston.org, Sunday mornings at 11 a.m. Central.